Okay. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm well after a beautiful night's sleep.
Oh,
Doesn't happen
good.
too often. And a fresh, cool summer morning. I'm happy. How about you?
I've been sleeping well too, which I think is key,
Mhm.
especially in your 50s. Good
Oh,
sleep is a win. It is a win and a winner.
yeah. 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 And the winner expands out of our own beingness, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny too because I guess I gamify sleeping a little bit because I have the Aura ring. So every morning I get to check my progress. So it's supposed to motivate you to get better sleep. I don't know if it's true. I really focus on it, but I don't go to bed um early. I feel like for me, going to bed early is the key. But in these summer moments, between 10:30 and 11:30, and 10:30 is good right now.
Yeah.
I That's what happens for me, but I get the best sleep scores when I go to bed at 9. And as you know, you get your best sleep before midnight.
Yeah.
So the earlier I go to bed, the better my sleep scores are. But I have actually learned a trick that helps me sleep in these days. I used to wake up at 5 every morning, no matter what time I went to bed.
Share
And
the trick
now,
with us.
what's that? Share the
Share
trick.
the
Oh yeah, I
trick
was
with
about
us.
to. I was about to. It's basically when I wake up in the morning, it's always this feeling of like being jolted awake. I think it's just the cortisol, kind of wakes me up, and I'm just kind of the cortisol just gives me way too much energy to stay in bed and I'm tired. I don't want to get up at 5, but I have to because the cortisol is just jolting me awake and I kind of feel a little freaked out. So I do something to help lower the the cortisol. And it's just basically a very, 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 very long exhale until I can't exhale anymore. I don't worry about the inhale. I just let my body take care of that. Then I just focus on the exhaling, and I do that multiple times, and it lowers my cortisol, and I'm able to sleep in till I slept until 7:30 yesterday morning.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's like an
Yeah,
extra
you are
2.5.
regulating your nervous system, right? So in yoga, in pranayama, we know that the extension of your exhalation in comparison to your inhalation is what activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And that
Mhm.
is, the relax and digest system. And
Mhm.
I'm using this a little bit for the transition of what we wanted to talk about today. That has very much to do with the parasympathetic nervous system and these two key elements of it, the relaxation and the digestion, right? Do you want to
Mhm.
share the topic of what we want to talk about?
Yes. So I want to talk about emotions and digestive issues. And in one particular example that I've encountered in my work, I'm a digestive health coach. I work with a lot of people who have acid reflux, and it just seems to me I'm an observer of life, and
Mhm.
I, wonder what all these people have in common.
Mhm.
And it seems to me, they tell me their stories, and it seems to me that there is an aspect of emotional repression.
So you could
And the
detect
body,
you could de detect a pattern, so to speak.
Mhm.
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 Yeah, things that you don't want to feel, um, bad emotions, trauma triggered emotions, things that you just kind of put underneath, deep, deep buried so you can function, right? and not be in pain all the time. And it's the way we were built, right? We were built to function and survive. And this is a repression. Emotional repression is a survival mechanism. And we all do it to a degree. When it's really intense emotion that needs to be felt and expressed, I mean, emotions are messengers, right? So they're just gonna keep revisiting and sending their message until you hear them, you experience them, you feel them, you learn from them. And when you repress them so that that message just gets completely lost, it starts coming out in physical ways. And one of the ways, it just kind of makes sense if you think about it, reflux. Reflux is like things that should go down but are coming up, right? The acid reflux is from acid coming from your stomach, and it's kind of burning your esophagus. It's your esophagus doesn't have the lining that your stomach has, so it's that acid is very painful, and that's the burn.
Yeah, so the connection you have made by observing your clients struggling with acid reflux is oftentimes that there is an element of emotional suppression also involved in their daily life. And we know from biology, right, in the medical field, how these two kind of have an intrinsic connection, right? So we know that the nervous system innervates your stomach and your digestive tract, right, to be able to function properly. And there is a causal and correlated effect in a dysregulated nervous system to your digestion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the science. But you know, we don't study emotions because it's difficult to study emotions and their effect on the nervous system. In my Qigong practice, you know, we learn that, you know, these trapped emotions, you put them in certain areas of your body. I think in yoga too, it's in these Eastern practices, they understand that these trapped emotions are put in certain areas of the body. I think the hips are one area. I think the upper chest, it's not perineum. I'm thinking, what is that bone of the upper chest?
Your sternum.
Sternum. Thank
Yeah.
you. I just perineum came to my brain. I couldn't think of it. So yes, it's sternum, hips, shoulders. These are the areas that these emotions get trapped. And I'll just tell you, because I'm a Qigong practitioner, you're a yoga practitioner. From a Qigong perspective, these trapped emotions actually block the flow of energy, which decreases your health in general. And if your weak spot is your digestive health, that's going to hit, that's the area that's going to be hit first.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm as you know studying some naturopathic medicine currently, and coming from the energetic field of the yoga practice and the understanding there, and kind of starting to put these two a little bit together. I'm very much amazed currently about the importance of energetic flow in both areas, right? So coming back to the stomach and the functioning, the mechanical functioning, the biological functioning of our digestive tract as we know it currently, in regard to science, and combining it with the maybe more energetic approach of nervous system regulation through these practices, right? Through yoga practice, through Qigong practice, is a very fascinating almost marriage in a way, a little bit, right? It's like two separate things, but brought together can build something more, right? It's like 1 and 1 is not 2, right? Like 1 and 1 might
Yeah.
be 3, right? So tell me a little bit more about your observation in regard to when your clients, when your patients observe or realize that there is a correlation between their emotional suppression and their acid reflux in particular, right? Like using that word,
Yeah.
stomach. What happens? What do you observe?
Okay. I mean, that's a tough question, to tell you the truth, because a lot of them don't realize it.
So how
Yeah.
do you work
That
around that then?
I pointed out to them, but you know what? One of the things that, if you point it out to the conscious mind,
Mhm.
it's not conscious of it. Repression is subconscious,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So one of the ways that I have worked with it with my clients is through hypnosis. So I
Mhm.
learned hypnosis
Mhm.
to help with the mind body aspect of it and these repressed emotions. And that's when it comes out. And that's when people realize. And I have had clients, I had this one girl with massive bloating and SIBO and all, and she tried all the functional medicine things, and it just nothing worked.
Mhm.
And we did one hypnosis session, and she started realizing, like, oh, this is emotional. Because the thing is, when you go into subconscious mind, which is the body, basically, then you start feeling. When I speak to someone and tell them, okay, well, I think maybe your acid reflux is emotional, I'm speaking to the mind.
Mhm.
And when I do hypnosis, I'm speaking to the body. The body is what stores it. And when they start feeling it in hypnosis, in that subconscious relaxed state, and that's when they start surfacing it, they're like, oh, like this memory, whenever I think of this memory, I just repress my emotions, but now I'm bringing it up and I'm feeling it. Like, I didn't even know I felt this way. I didn't even know I felt this strongly. And, there's a lot of crying in my hypnosis sessions. And yeah, it's
Ah,
intense. It's intense
So
for them. It's intense for me.
So you found a tool to work with your clientele directly through the hypnosis to kind of create that feedback loop again, right? That we are in our society so carefully and so beautifully and perfectly allowed to separate, right? Mind and body is not a unity anymore, unfortunately, in our society, but rather a separate thing, right? So that feedback loop is severed, and through there are many tools, right? Even the practice of yoga, the practice of Qigong, hypnosis, right? There are so many tools out there that allow us to bring that connection back. So these, as you mentioned already, these stored emotions that are in our tissue, right? We know about that in the meantime through many research done by it and many very famous people out there already bringing it into the public mind. But through this tool of hypnosis, you can release that stored emotion in the physical tissue and bring it up, feedback looping it back to the mind. What happens then?
Yeah, I mean, people, and by the way, I didn't know that they did a lot of research on emotional stuff. I had no idea, not the mainstream science anyway. But yeah, to answer your question, I think most people approach health problems, for example, healing their gut, with doing lots of research online. It's so easy to consume information these days, and knowing more. And they feel like the more they know, the easier it is going to be for them to heal their gut. It's the opposite, honestly. And so they're really focusing on knowing and knowledge and healing their gut through conscious efforts and just completely ignoring the
Yeah.
body.
I think from my experience also, having worked in a clinical setting, is with a lot of my patients, is that there is still this allopathic mindset, right? And the knowledge you can get through the internet is mainly your Google Doc, right? Like the allopathic approach to these things, right? What kind of doctor do I have to go to heal my acid reflux? What kind of medicine can I take to heal my acid reflux? And even though we all know in the meantime, and that's not like something secret anymore, that with these medicines we are dealing symptomatically and not causal, right? People are still approaching their health that way, right?
Absolutely.
So
With acid reflux, by the way, I just need to interject this.
yeah, no,
They do really a lot of harm, these medicines, because what
yeah,
people get for reflux is acid reducing meds.
right.
There is a lot of evidence that uh, reflux is caused by low stomach acid. Stress lowers stomach acid and not high stomach acid. So you already have low stomach acid. You're reducing the acid even more. So you have really low acid now. So less goes up into the esophagus. You feel better. You feel like you fixed it. You're causing more problems because you're causing downstream issues with the biome because you're not digesting your food. So you're causing yeast overgrowth, you're causing bacterial overgrowth. PPIs cause SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They cause brittle bones and osteoporosis. There are so many. It's not that you're just taking a pill and never really getting to the root cause.
Yeah, and as far
Fixing.
as I understand is too that mechanically low stomach acid that, as you said, like caused by stress, or the opposite, a good pH level in your stomach, appropriate and high stomach acid, is innervated also through the parasympathetic system, right? And I name it the vagus nerve, right? um, is part of mechanically also how that barrier between your stomach and your esophagus is functioning, right? So you need this digestion of your food to release pressure on that sphincter, right? To be able to close, right, mechanically, and prevent therefore the the part in the stomach to be able to move back into the esophagus, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. You need higher stomach acid to seal that shut, the seal between the esophagus and the stomach. The high stomach acid signals it to stay sealed so that the stomach acid doesn't escape. And that's why stomach acid support can be more helpful with
right.
reflux rather
So
than.
you can do it supplementally, again, going away from treating the symptom. Yes, we know in the meantime about the apple cider vinegar, enzymes, all things that are important, maybe to talk to your provider with, whoever you talk and work with. But there's also this element which we want to go into a little bit more deeply, and that's the support of your nervous system and your nervous system regulation to find tools that are actually, thinking about it, very low cost, right? Easily accessible. And actually, once you get into the habit, right, talking about creating habits and behavior changes to support your health and well-being, once you figure out how to create a habit out of it, might be the key to help you heal.
Yeah, absolutely. And from what from last time I checked, breathing was free, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And that's
Yeah,
one of the best tools
yeah.
um, for regulating the nervous system, for stomach acid, for improving digestion, being in that relaxed state.
Do you have a
And
favorite breathing um, pattern, breathing methodology that you use maybe yourself or that you observe being very beneficial for your clients that deal with or struggle with acid reflux?
so I don't have like I've heard of the box breathing and all that sort
Mhm,
of stuff. I don't think that you should contrive your breathing.
mhm,
My my approach to it, so I think a lot of people are like, okay, so then I have to breathe in for 3 counts and then hold it and then breathe. I don't like that approach. I don't want it to be structured. The body knows how to breathe to regulate. And it's like more like it's surrendering to the intelligence of the body
mhm,
and
mhm,
letting it breathe like it's wants to breathe.
mhm,
Really, I think that's the best. And that's hard to teach. You say that to someone and they're like,
mhm.
I don't know how to do that. They want the structure, right?
Yeah, I my
But
my ex my
go ahead.
experience there is that that innate intelligence again, like if we work with people who have years and years and years of dysregulation, right, and maybe even severe forms of dysregulation, they don't have that trust within themselves or even
Yeah,
unlearned it, right? But I get your point, and I'm starting oftentimes, especially with these people with breathing awareness exercises, right? That
that's it. That's what I was gonna say. You just check
um,
in. You just stop, put a alarm on your phone, stop and just notice, how am I breathing? When I
yeah,
first started doing Qigong, I know I started noticing that I hold my breath all the time.
right.
That's gold.
Yeah, yeah. And that can be, as you said, like very challenging for a lot of people. I myself had like this one experience, but which was very informative and formative of my approach in how to deal with breath work with other people, not myself. Was early on in my yoga teaching um, career, passion, maybe, is was the fact that this student came to me and we did a little bit of breath awareness exercise, and she had also years and years of emotional suppression behind her, even knowing that she has that. And as soon as we started, we just couldn't continue. It was maybe half a minute that we started the practice, and she started bawling. And that happened probably for the first 3 months of our work together, where we not even could get into the practice of creating awareness. So it can be rather substantial with that. But if your issue is not as deeply rooted and anchored already in your system, the general rule of extending your exhale is a pretty good one. As you mentioned already, like coming back to the beginning of our conversation a bit, when you said like you kind of hack yourself back into sleep again in the early morning hours. That's what it is, right? You're with this elongated exhale, you are activating that part of your nervous system. And there are certain breathing patterns out there, right? Be mindful that you start gentle, right? Always start gentle with yourself. Don't go to extended holds in between the breath right in the beginning. They can be rather triggering. or frustrating because you cannot do it and then you stop the breathing exercise, right? That doesn't serve anybody either. So being rather gentle there to start might be a good advice in that regard. And then see what works for you, right? Yeah, breath work is paramount. Anything else, any other practice you like?
You know, what just occurs to me from the story that you told me about this client is how crying is one of the best built-in releases
Yeah,
there is.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
you would, people are scared of it,
Yeah.
you
Again,
know?
it's something that gets really indoctrinated in
Yes.
our systems almost from the
Oh,
time
yeah.
we are growing up, right? It's not
Be
necessarily.
strong. Yeah, be strong. Don't
Yeah,
cry, be
yeah, yeah,
strong. And
yeah,
I feel like crying is a somatic emotional release.
for
And
sure.
I have had moments, I was just remembering this morning when I was practicing Qigong, I was remembering moments where I would go into class feeling totally fine, just a normal day, and we would start practicing and I would find myself on the floor crying,
Yeah.
crying in a way that I've never cried before, you know, having to remove myself and go to the bathroom because I thought I was going to throw up. I was crying so hard.
In
And I'm
yoga, we
not,
have that too, right? Like in
yeah,
Shavasana, oftentimes, or when you different forms, right? When you're at your therapist, when you're doing when you get body work done, right? You might
yeah,
even feel these releases. So there are so many instances which can trigger that release function, right? So crying is another good thing. What else would you say can be beneficial?
other than breath work,
And crying.
Qigong yoga and crying. I mean, just movement in general, you
Movement.
know, movement in general, moving your body, moving the lymphatic system, getting outside, just
Yeah.
walking. I'm a huge fan
That's
of
my
walking.
my current thought for a lot of ailments I'm personally dealing with and I'm dealing with my clientele is go outside, moving in nature, right? Like combining
In
both.
nature.
Even if you just sit there and like stare into the abyss, stare into the stream or observe nature, the plants, maybe a butterfly or whatever, or an insect, whatever it is, right? Like being in nature, kind of unifying yourself with that bigger moving in there. You also start to think yourself. I mean, we are going into too much into a different field now, so I want to stop myself here. But yes, being into nature, moving in nature is huge.
Yeah, so I wanted to tell you a really quick story about one client that this was before I did hypnosis. So I couldn't really help her, but she had acid reflux and she had small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and this all happened after her dog, her soul dog died. And I just knew, being a dog owner, also having a soul dog, that that all of her symptoms were unprocessed grief. But we worked with the herbs and the diet and nothing helped, and she just kind of gave up, and she gave up on me. But it stuck with me because I could see what unprocessed grief, and I said, that's going to be me one day. And now it is me. I lost my dog, and in the first week, I said to myself, this is not going to get me sick. And in the first week, I just listened to my instincts. Like, what do I need? What does my body need right now? And my body needed movement. And so my movement was riding my bike, and it needed to be in nature. I needed to be outside. I needed to be moving. And when I felt like I was moving that grief, that emotion. And the grief only just takes time. but you can keep it flowing, keep it flow. This is the thing that I want to sort of like end this, the ending thought is that health is flow. Emotions flowing through our body is health. Apparently, any strong emotion, if you let yourself feel it completely and fully, only lasts for 90 seconds. And then it passes, and then you're on to the next thing. And this is flow, and this is health. And and this is like, you know, ancient civilizations knew this, right? That's why they created yoga and Qigong. And, you know, I'm also from a culture, Eastern European culture, where when people are sick, they send them to a sanatorium by the sea, and they just walk by the ocean and all those negative ions. And the sea is so healing in particular. You know, I feel kind of like the waves just take the troubles away out to sea. So yeah, my ultimate suggestion for anyone who's struggling with acid reflux or any kind of mysterious health problems is just keep flowing, moving, checking in, being outside, and really understanding what is it that I feel and what is it that I need. And that's better than a boatload of Google information, because that stuff, let me tell you, overwhelms the nervous system. It is
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Coming back to that. And yeah, as always, work with your practitioner, take maybe some ideas that might have come up while listening to us conversing here a little bit on a huge topic, just trying to comprise it in this little conversation. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us and talk to us also in private. And I hope for everybody out there, you are doing well. Move, as Angela also suggested, be out in nature.
Flow.
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 Okay. Bye.